My fellow Americans, citizens of the world, I'd like to make a response video to Wukdar, who in turn made a response video to Gratex. I'm going to start off speaking to my fellow countrymen, a particular sect of my countrymen. Just because someone criticizes the country you were born in, and really they're criticizing decisions that your government is making, does that make them your enemy and doesn't make them anti-American? Let me break it down into simple terms for some of the people who are out there who are, well, I'm not going to say unintelligent, but more simple. It's going to be a little bit crude, so excuse me, ladies, if you're thinking this is a little gross. If I had a piece of snot, slang word, booger, hanging out of my nose, and you don't tell me I have a booger hanging out of my nose, you are not my friend, because I'm walking around all day with a booger hanging out of my nose. If you tell me that I have a booger under my nose, you are my friend, because you're telling me, hey, you have something wrong here, you need to clean that up. You're gonna embarrass yourself. And God forbid if you fling it on accident and it hits your boss. Okay, that being said, Mr. Wukdar is from the Balkans, or what was the Balkans, or what is the Balkans. He's from Bosnia, and I'm not going to even try to pronounce the second part of that country. It's always giving me trouble. He's very, very well thought out young man. Gratex is from Scotland, and he's very well thought out. And neither of these people are anti-American, as in they hate American people. They see problems in the world, and they simply point them out, hoping that along the way it'll do some good. Now, my enlightenment, I guess, if that's the right word, to Wukdar, and to Gratex is, you know, the old saying, I think, that, you know, I can talk about my mother, but if you talk about my mother, it's fighting words, you know. And I think that's some of the friction you may be running into. And it's unfortunate, you know. I mean, not the mother part, but it's unfortunate that, you know, anybody from the outside who somehow makes an observation that may not be flattering to the United States, you know, gets labeled as, you know, well, you must love Muslims, or, you know, starts, what is the word, verboting or boasting about how you'd be speaking German, which is utter bullshit. You know, I mean, not to say that, you know, World War II, the United States didn't help, but, you know, there's a lot more to just the United States didn't just come over there and you know, everybody else was losing the war, and the United States came over there and just kicked ass, and, you know, and no, it's a lot more to it, you know. The Russians had a little bit to do with that. The Russian winter had a lot to do with that. You know, so anyway, I'm not getting into the history of World War II here. What I am saying is that it is, you know, a lot of these people that are making these comments, Dario, so you don't worry too much. I work with people, and I see people, and believe me, there are more people who are critical of what's going on in this country than are not. You still have the blinded people that, you know, drink the Flavor Aid, or the Kool-Aid as it's known. Uh, drink the poison. You know, you still have those people. Yes. You know, you're going to get that. Unfortunately, you know, and a lot of it does have to do with, some of it has to do with youth. But let me correct you, Wukdar, on something. You said that, you know, you get fed it as a kid, you get fed as a teenager, and then you end up being a grown-up adult. That's not 100% accurate, because yes, especially my generation, I mean, I grew up a little bit different time. You know, yeah, I grew up Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, and you know, we're the greatest country in the world and all that stuff. But, you know, as I became an adult, my eyes, you know, when you become an adult, you start seeing through the bullshit, you know. So, and you start realizing that you're being played. So there are a lot more adults out there that are not buying it. Okay, but some of the younger generations, of course, I read one of your comments, they were born in the 9/11 generation, and the Fox News and the 24-hour propaganda machines, and the Rush Limbaugh, you know, and the deregulation of radio, which meant it became just a, you know, one person could own. I'm looking at a mosquito here. Hopefully it doesn't bite me. Yeah, so I'm hoping they grow up and get older and see the light as well. But you're always going to have the adults that, you know, never get out of it. And a lot of it has to do with they're not feeling the pain yet. They're not feeling the pain yet. It's becoming less and less likely that you're not going to feel the pain. I still see people driving their big Hummers and SUVs. They're feeling the pain. I don't think they may be able to absorb the pain, but believe me, they're starting to feel it. And those vehicles are taking a nosedive. This is sort of touch up on what Gratex was saying. You know, Gratex, the only thing I would say to your video about, you know, the consumption of energy in this country, you know, I'm doing what I can, man. I've got the light bulbs in a small car, but, you know, we were born into a certain system. It's not like Europe where I could walk to the grocery store. I don't live that close to a grocery store. Now you can say, well, that's your fault. Well, yeah, it is. But, you know, I choose to live where my family and my sons will get, you know, will be safe and have a decent education, because I'm a subjective individual. But, yeah, so, you know, this country's spread out, and not people just can't necessarily walk to the grocery store or walk to work. I didn't want to live close to work because I didn't want to, you know, I'm going to be gone sometimes. I don't want my family alone in an area, especially that I was not familiar with, and it has not the greatest reputation. So that being said, I'm going to wrap this up here soon. Getting ready to hit 10 minutes. So anyway, I just wanted to say that to Gratex. It's not just cut and dry being lazy, not walking to the grocery store. It's not really like that. I mean, I wish it were, but it's not. What else did I want to say? So, to all you people out there who can't take a little criticism, get out of the kitchen. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. They're not criticizing the people, not all the people. They're not criticizing the chunk of land, and Wukdar's so right when he says, just because you were born in an area and you call yourself an American does not mean you're better than anybody else. It just means that you were fortunate enough to live somewhere, you know, that is a little bit wealthier than other places in the world. But it has nothing to do with you, and you should have no pride because you really had no part of it, most of us. So, yeah. Swallow your pride and start criticizing, because a true patriot does criticize when his country is doing something that is silly. That's the definition of patriotism. Clean up your house. Okay, well, that being said, I would let it go at that.